Names matter. They're not just labels, they're containers of meaning. They're whispered over cradles, shouted in anger, carved on gravestones, and carried like banners into history. Names define empires, topple dynasties, inspire armies. Think about it. Napoleon, Caesar, Churchill, Mandela. A name can summon an image, a feeling, a legacy. Some names feel like destiny itself, carved in stone long before the bearer was even born. They resonate not just because of what the person achieved, but because of what those syllables have meant for centuries. And every now and then a name comes along that feels almost too perfect, too symbolic, as if history had scripted it to echo with something far larger than the individual. Welcome to the Snake Pit, where we're full of bile and venom. I'm your host, Snake Damon, and today we're looking at the life, death, and legacy of Charlie Kirk, a man whose very name reads like prophecy, and whose passing has left ripples that feel less like coincidence and more like something, well, biblical. Let's start with his name. Charles, not just a common name, but one steeped in royal and historical authority. Charles the Great, Charlemagne, the father of Europe. Charles I, martyred king. The name itself means free man, yet it has always carried the paradox of power and responsibility. Then we have James, a name soaked in scripture. James the Just, leader of the early church, known for his wisdom and faith. And King James, whose translation of the Bible shaped Christianity in the English-speaking world for centuries. The meaning of James, supplanter, one who takes the place of another, often in fulfillment of destiny. Finally, there's Kirk, the old Scottish word for church, the body of believers, the house of God. Put this together and you don't just get a name, you get a statement: Charles James Kirk. The free man, the apostolic authority belonging to the church. That isn't just coincidence, it reads like scripture, as if every syllable was preparing him to stand as a figure of faith, freedom and resistance. Now here's where the story gets chilling. 3 days after his death came the Unite the Kingdom rally, organized by Tommy Robinson. 3 days, the exact length of time the Gospels tell us Christ lay in the tomb before rising again. In a Christian nation where the symbols of resurrection and redemption are woven into its very history, that timing cannot be ignored. A rally for unity 3 days after the death of a man whose name is practically a sermon. For believers, for symbolists, for anyone with an eye on history's patterns, it was impossible not to see echoes of the resurrection, whispers of a second coming. And what was that rally? Not just politics, not just protesters, but, a gathering of the faithful in spirit, people demanding that the nation remember its roots, its heritage, its unity under God. Unite the kingdom in a Christian country 3 days after such a loss, and suddenly you're not looking at just another political event. You're looking at something charged, almost ordained, a moment where faith and fate collided. Some will say it's all coincidence, that names are just names, dates are just dates, and rallies are just rallies. But honestly, those same people forget that history thrives on symbolism. It doesn't matter whether something was meant or merely happened. What matters is how people perceive it, how they carry it forward, how it becomes memory and myth. The death of Charlie Kirk, the timing of the rally, the weight of his name, these things combine to create a narrative bigger than any one man. And this is what makes it so terrifying for those who hated him, because symbolism is more powerful than bullets. Symbols endure, they inspire, they outlive the body. The tragic action that took his life wasn't just an attack on a man, it was an act of desperation by a terrified group who, for a fleeting moment, started to listen. And that terrified somebody. They saw that voices were rising, that people were uniting, that his name, Charles James Kirk, was becoming more than a man, it was becoming a banner. And they panicked. That fear drove them to silence him, but in doing so, they may have ensured his legacy shines even brighter. This wasn't just a death, this was a reminder of how symbols are born, how movements find momentum, and how history, whether you believe in coincidence, destiny, or divine providence, which I really don't, writes stories that no one can erase. And if you think God doesn't act quickly in this age, look around. The Black Death, the plague, once had to be purged with fire before society could breathe again. Back then, rot and disease forced people's hands where politicians only acted when survival demanded it. Today, the plague isn't rats and boils. It's ideological sickness, a rot in the system. And the fire has already started. Industries are cutting loose these infected minds, purging them one by one. The best part, they'll have to disclose it. They'll have to wear it like a brand when they crawl to the next place begging for work, as if people wouldn't already know. And the only word they'll hear, sharp and final, will be next. God works very fast these days. The fire that once took decades now spreads in weeks, and those who thought themselves untouchable are learning the oldest truth in history. When the people start to listen, the powerful start to burn. Thanks for dropping by the Snake Pit, where we thrive on untapped potential and lost opportunities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, like the video and leave your opinion in the comments, where naturally I won't read them. Until next time, stay venomous.